the Yes Please Yes podcast. My name is Faith Namshev. I'm victim advocate, outreach coordinator, and prevention educator with Rape Counselors. I have Amanda Carpenter here, who is a victim advocate and outreach specialist. And we are going to be talking today about substance abuse and sexual assault. So we have two guests with us, Bailey McConnell and Jason Flowers with East Alabama Mental Health. So I'm going to go ahead and let them introduce themselves and talk about what their roles are at EAMH.
Hey everybody, I'm Bailey McConnell. I'm a prevention specialist here at East Alabama Mental Health Center. And that is my role here. You go ahead, Jason.
Just like Bailey said, we're both prevention specialists here, and we're happy to be here at joining you guys, and had a good time with you guys a few weeks ago as y'all came on our show, and we're just returning the favor.
Yes, we're so happy that you guys were able to come and talk to us today. So, like we talked about a couple weeks ago, there's really often an intersection in abuse of substances after a sexual assault. Some stats I looked up were individuals were 13 times more likely to abuse alcohol and 26 more times likely to abuse drugs after being sexually abused. So in your experience at EAMH, what have you worked with victims of sexual violence, and in what capacity if you have?
You know, to be honest, I was looking at this, and we really the question is really a double-ended question. I'm gonna give both answers to it. When it comes to prevention services, okay, so we're split up between a number of services, between clinical services, child and family therapy, group therapy. Then you have the prevention side. You also have day treatment and enrichment services. So for us, speaking on the prevention part, we would not know unless someone has shared that information to us. And so when someone, so my personal experience is that no. However, there are a lot of cases that are turned over to East Alabama Mental Health, where there are a lot of therapists and counselors and day treatment workers that have dealt on a regular basis with sexual assault. And so in that capacity, they are working through those things. If we do run into someone who has had a sexual assault situation, we are advised to get that person to the correct help they would need. I want to preface the interview with we are not clinical psychologists. We're not clinical doctors, so it's very important to be precise in the information that we are giving to someone who has struggled with sexual assault.
Yeah, and I'm going to expand on that a little bit. Yeah, just given the nature of prevention, we're typically working with the community as a whole. But in my own personal experience, we also work in high schools. We teach curriculums in high schools, and right before COVID-19 kind of shut us out of the high schools, we were teaching a curriculum called Too Good for Drugs and Violence. And we did have a segment on relationships and violence in relationships, and that kind of ties in with sexual assault a lot of the time. So we did get to teach preventative strategies to young people who a lot of them were seniors going to college soon. I always was really careful when speaking with them about that, because you want to tell them of the dangers and what to avoid to prevent this from happening. But we don't want to ever say that if something were to happen to these young people or anyone, that it's their fault, such as sexual assault. It's never the victim's fault. So it did get brought up sometimes in our classes with our curriculums. But we with the nature of prevention, we are not ever referred people who have already experienced substance abuse or sexual assault.
I think it's really important too that you guys, you kind of do a lot. What we do is we go out and you educate people about different things. And so it is important that you're educating them on that. We can't prevent sexual assault, but we can definitely educate people about it and what they need to do when that does happen.
Absolutely. Yeah. The purpose, going back on what Bailey is saying, the purpose of prevention that we're trying to get out there is to advocate for a healthy community. And that's what we want listeners and viewers to know. That's where you can find prevention specialists out encouraging a healthy lifestyle, no matter what that is.
And it's really important for like organizations like us to all work together, because someone, with sexual assault, they may become addicted and, have issues with using substances like alcohol and drugs. And so it's good, a resource for us that when we see someone and they say, I'm really struggling with this and this is how I'm coping with it, we can refer them to you guys and to other agencies that can help them with that. Just like if you guys ever have someone to come across your table, I mean, it could be as easy as an event that you set up for, and they say, well, ever since my sexual assault, I've been using these drugs, and then you guys would be able to have a resource for them, for us to send them to us. So it's really important that we all work together, and we're very fortunate for you guys and for what you do. So we appreciate it.
Yes.
Right.
Definitely. Okay, so I'm going to combine these two together just because you guys have kind of mentioned it. But what services are you able to offer, if any, to victims of substance abuse and addiction? Like, so if we were to call you and say that we had a survivor who's experiencing issues of substance abuse or alcohol abuse, how would we be able to get them in touch with you? And like, what steps would you take from there, just for anyone listening who might be curious?
Yeah, sure. So that's a very good question. Let me go through just the services basically that we provide. And I think that'll be the better fit to who would be receiving that particular phone call. So whether it is, I talked about clinical services, child and family therapy, group therapy, school-based therapy, psychiatric services, daily living skills training, all right, family support and education, case managers, we offer that as well, behavior consultation, all of those things would take in place, and you could be working with any of those people when you are talking with East Alabama Mental Health. And so I guess when you, we may talk about this once we get to the end, but what usually happens is when there is a referral, you are referred to our clinical services, and that could be about 2 people that you could be referred to, and that would be depending on your county and depending on the absolute situation. So to be more specific, if there was a situation where, let's say the situation happened in Russell County, the person that you would be talking to would be Sarah Cox. That is who is over the clinical services in Russell County. In Lee County, it could be Ann Buffet. So it just depends on who is where things are going on, and there's just a lot of moving parts in that question.
Yeah, you can also call our outreach number, and that is 334-742-2877. And if you're interested in talking with someone, you can give your you can tell them that you're looking to make a therapy appointment, and they will find the best services for your needs specifically once you get in touch with that number. Because every situation is different. If you have kids, your age, what you're struggling with, whether that's mental health or substance abuse or both, and you call that number and those people will know who to get you in touch with.
You guys do all 4 counties, right? Your counties are Lee, Tallapoosa, Chambers, and
Russell.
And Russell. So y'all do 5.
And Russell.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. 4 counties: Russell, Tallapoosa, Lee, and Chambers County.
Okay, so they don't do Macon.
Okay, so you don't do Macon.
We do not do Macon County.
Okay.
Because we do Lee Chambers, Halapoose, and Macon. So we do,
And Macon.
yeah.
Absolutely. So, yeah, but if it is someone from Macon County that is going through something, we definitely can point them in the right direction. We have a few partnerships down in that area, so we would try to make that happen if it was somebody in Macon County.
Okay. And I kind of was looking on your website a little bit earlier. So what are the service fees that y'all do? I think I saw maybe sliding scale.
Yeah, sliding scale.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it totally depends on the situation and the person.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Good. So in our in like the sexual assault like world and like the lingo, there's something called drug facilitated sexual assault.
Right.
Specific type of assault that is basically the perpetrator uses drugs or alcohol to their advantage by either drugging someone's drink or encouraging them to keep drinking alcohol when they're past a point, basically just to make them more powerless to the assailant and make it easier for them to perform the assault. So when you guys go in and you do prevention and any education like that, do you guys touch on DFSA or how it could be involved?
So when I mentioned our curriculums earlier, that is definitely mentioned in high schools when we're teaching on the course for, I always mention it during the prescription drug abuse segment and the interrelationship segment. And I believe even the alcohol segment, I mention it there too, because it is so common among college age students, and these high school students are going to be in that culture very soon. So I always mention it during those segments, and we always get a dialogue going. And right now in Lee County, there is a case going on with the bars downtown in Auburn in Lee County over bartenders drugging bar goers. So
right.
And it's extremely common, and I always give them my own experience with that, and how many friends I've had who have been drugged, and some of my guy friends that have been drugged who took their friend who was a girl. They drank the drink that whoever was trying to drug them was intended for her. It's just extremely common, and so it's definitely important to. Because no one told me about that before I came to college, so I think it's important to tell the younger people about this.
And it's really it's very important too, because I know before COVID-19 had happened, I had went with some friends, and we had went to a bar, and we were sitting there, and being in the profession that I am, I take notice of that kind of stuff, and I was sitting there, and we were just talking, and there was this girl that ordered her drink, and she left it, and then she came back.
Oh wow! Right.
And I was like, oh my goodness. And so, me being who I am, I looked over and I was like, hey, we need to have a talk about your drink. And I was like, you cannot leave your drink. It's just not safe. And, kind of went in, kind of looked at me like I had lost my mind. But she was like, oh, that's fine. My boyfriend was watching my drink. And I was like, no, your boyfriend was talking to his friend and was not paying attention to your drink. And I know I don't look like a bad person or anything, but it was it was literally sitting right there in front of me, because she ordered the drink and the bartender put it there, and then she just walked away and went and chit-chatted, and then she came back to grab it, and I was like, oh my goodness, you really don't need to do that. And so, I think she understood, but it just shows that, they leave their drink sitting around, and you just cannot do that. And she looked very young. So it is important. And that's awesome that you guys are going in the high schools and talking about that, because, if you don't know or you're not really aware of it, then it is easy just to leave your drink. And I also think it's important that people know that, we've even had cases where it's not always college students. It can even be older people that go to parties and stuff. It can happen to them just as easy as it can happen to a college student. So sexual assault does not discriminate, and it doesn't matter about your age or anything. It can happen at a bar, a college bar, or it can happen at an older party with people that you trust.
Yeah.
And it's good that you mentioned awareness, because that's our job as prevention specialists, to promote awareness, whether whether it is in local newspapers, whether it's through public service announcements, on social media accounts, a podcast, a Zoom call such as this. That's our job, to get the word out. And so that's good that you did mention that, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, no, definitely good point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in your experiences, what role have you seen substance abuse and treatment for substance abuse take place in like the healing of trauma?
You want to take this, Jason? I can take it first.
Yeah, you go ahead. It's okay.
All right. So definitely we can see that the statistics are higher for people who have experienced sexual assault to have higher use of substance abuse, higher cases of substance abuse. And that's often associated with the mental health issues that come after sexual assault as well, because we also see high statistics in substance abuse with people that experience depression and anxiety. And so this is with all types of trauma as well. But specifically with sexual assault, it can get a little hazy here, because you obviously don't want anyone to experience substance abuse in any case, and it's also more likely someone's to be sexually assaulted when there are substances involved, which can also get tricky, and it puts them at risk again for having another instance of sexual assault. So but like with prevention, this is just what we know from looking at statistics and the information we give for prevention. We're never dealing with people that are actually going through this. If we ever have someone come up to us, we always refer them to our clinical people here at the center, and people that deal with that every day. But that definitely plays a role in the treatment side and the healing side, and it can definitely hinder that.
Absolutely. Right as Bailey is saying, what we want everybody to know is that no single treatment is right for everyone. The best treatment addresses a person's specific issues and his or her drug abuse. So it varies from person to person. And we want to make sure that we get people in the right place to experience a educational type of help, and not just giving someone away and not caring about their rehabilitation. We want to make sure that people are treated the way that they need to be treated, and treated with respect, kindness, and most of all, love.
I like that. Mm-hmm. So I would say that just using substances or using alcohol, that would be considered like a maladaptive coping mechanism. When you guys go and talk to the students, do you talk about appropriate coping meconisms?
Yes, we most certainly do. Yes, we have a whole segment on coping. And it's really interesting to really hear these young people and how they view coping, or if a lot of them haven't even thought about coping, because at that age, we can see from a psychology standpoint, they're supposed to be resilient, and they're supposed to be, they're supposed to view themselves as invincible, even though we know obviously no one is invincible. But it's very interesting to hear what these students think about coping. And a lot of them would even say at the young ages, 14 to 17, that they use substances for coping, that they enjoy it. So that's what they do. And I always, have to correct that with them and tell them how, what science tells us, and how it's bad for them physically. And then I talk about psychology and how you become reliant on a substance, and that's just going to create more problems for you. And so we talk about that a lot in our curriculums in the high schools.
Absolutely. That's well said. You know, not only do we try to make it an effort to talk to the youth, but it's important to talk to parents as well. Talking with parents and on just the appropriate ways to talk to their youth about coping. Sometimes, you know, and y'all know, sometimes, you know, parents may come at it one type of way and the youth don't receive it. They may not be willing to listen. You know, we talk to our youth as well about having an open mind, being willing to listen and not judge what others are trying to talk to you about, and just taking it one day at a time.
So do you guys think, when you mentioned that, Jason, do you ever think that sometimes that parents are like, oh, well, my child would never do that. My child that. And so do you think that there's a problem all around that maybe parents and guardians are thinking that only happens to you when you get older, when you go to college or when you're older? They don't really think of their 14-year-old or 15-year-old doing those things. So right. Well, you know, there are a lot of myths and stigmas that we all grew up with, you know, and especially in a tight-knit community, it's very easy to go say, you know what, I know my child wouldn't do anything like that, or I know this person from church, or I know this person from school, and I know they wouldn't be participating in the things that they're participating in. But I do see that a lot of times, a lot of parents and guardians could be some of the triggers sometimes to a lot of things, whether they want to hear that or not. I've seen a fact where a lot of the beginning stages of usage, sometimes, you know, they start off with family.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to add on that when I also teach mental health first aid class, and I've also taught I've taught like a presentation for single mothers on how to deal with suicide prevention of their kids. And a lot of parents, when they have to talk to their kid about substance abuse or suicide, they really reflect it inwards as their own failings as a parent. And we want to destigmatize mental health in this profession. We really want people to be able to talk about suicide and substance abuse and sexual assault. We want people to talk about it, like, without it being triggering and taboo. We want it to be more normal, because a lot of people, everyone struggles with mental health at some point in their life. So we really like tell parents, we normalize it in a way, but we also give them strategies of how to deal with it to make their lives better, make their kids' lives better.
Yeah, it comes down to communication.
Right.
Yeah.
So I know, I did my internship with you guys when I was working on my MSW. So I know you guys talk about like peer pressure and stuff with kids. So what's your take on with social media, like Snapchat and all of these things where you're seeing kids maybe doing these things on Snapchat and other people are seeing? Do you think that has caused an increase? Like, have y'all saw an increase in alcohol and drug usage, you think?
So there definitely is a different culture surrounding young people, but I have the benefit of having been their age and having social media as well. So that helps a lot when I talk with teenagers today. I tell them about what I went through being in high school, and I also tell them that now I'm out of college and I'm in the job market, and how everything is permanent when it is on the internet, and how I know people who have had, their tweets like laid out in front of them on printed sheets before, and that's not a place you want to find yourself in, is what I tell them. So you might be 15 now and only your buddies, or you think only your buddies are seeing it, but that is just simply not true when it comes down to it. So I definitely give them my own experience, and I think it gives me the benefit of experience with them. So.
Right. I want to say that Bailey is not the only person on here that's been on social media. Everybody's on social media right now.
I wasn't trying to call you old, Jason. Don't worry.
Jason, I feel it all the time.
So, just like, what Bailey is saying is being relatable. A lot of youth tend to flock towards her because she is so relatable. And that's one thing that we all try to work on each and every day. It is not making our messages scripted. A lot of times when our messages are scripted, the youth know. When we get in these classrooms, Amanda's done her internship here at East Alabama Mental Health, and she knows the students can look at you and tell if you truly mean what you are saying. And so that message will get misconstrued if you have a conflict of interest, basically, and you're not totally 100% in. And that's what we try to push here at East Alabama Mental Health, is to be 100% in, especially in the prevention unit, amongst all units, is be 100% real and 100% in totally to the message that you're talking about. And when it comes to social media is a huge influence. And I think during the pandemic, it made it even more important to be fluent on social media. I'm not just talking about, we have a worker here that has never been on social media. And Herman, if you go back and watch this, I'm picking on you right now. But he felt the need to, after 40 something years, to get on social media and become active in the community. And so, yes, I think social media has a big place in the youth of today's heart. But it needs to. They want to express themselves, and the time that we're living in right now is no better example to seeing people wanting to express themselves. And so social media plays a big part in how youth grow up and want to express themselves.
Positively and negatively.
Yes.
Positively and negatively.
It's definitely a double-edged sword, because I know during COVID and everything, we really, and y'all too, that's what we've had to use, social media. We can't go out into the community, but we can reach the community kind of like what we're doing with podcasts, with our videos. I made myself a YouTuber during this thing. I just had to learn, and it's really been the only way to kind of connect with people. So it's definitely positives and negatives, like you said.
Wow.
Also, it almost too, like these young kids, when they use social media, don't realize when they put it on there and they show it to people, other people are seeing it. So if you have a 16-year-old that thinks it's cool because he's drinking a beer and he Snapchats it, there's a good chance that somebody's going to see it, and it's a good chance a parent may even see it. So,
yes,
I mean, in a way, social media has its good and it has its bad, because it may make that parent that's like, oh, my child would never do that. It may open their eyes when they actually see it and say, wow, I'm shocked.
Right.
Yeah. And I like, this is like to go back way further, but I just kind of got a chance to put this in. I like that you did say that y'all did talk about coping mechanisms in the schools, because Bailey, I think we're around the same age. When I was in high school, no one came in and talked about stuff like that. I didn't know what a coping mechanism was until I got to college, and it was just because I was a psychology major. It was just because it was discussed, because that was part of what we were supposed to kind of do. I didn't know there was a right and wrong way to cope. I just thought you acted how you acted. And so I think it's great that y'all are going out and being able to kind of like talk about substance abuse, but also kind of open it up into deeper meaning, like, why is this happening? How can we more effectively cope? So I think that's great that y'all are able to do that. The awareness and education piece is something that I'm really interested in, and I think that's amazing. I really think that's like the first step.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, we'll agree. We'll agree.
All right, so I just have one last question for you guys. Do you have a final message or something that you would like for survivors of sexual assault to know?
Yeah, 100%. If you are a survivor of sexual assault, it is not your fault for what you've gone through. It's never too late. It's never been too long to reach out for help. And there are people out there that will listen to you and will help you through your healing process.
Yeah. And, you know, just what Bailey said, you can't put that any better. I want people to know, listeners to know, that we genuinely, we care. That is so important for someone to be placed into your life that cares about your situation wholeheartedly. Sometimes with all the things that we have going on throughout our day-to-day, it's very easy to get caught up into what we have going on and not necessarily listening to others. I just posted a message on my personal page, shameless plug, Jason Ryan Flowers on Facebook and Instagram and all that, about listening to others. Communication is something that we all take for granted, even on as something simple as our day-to-day. Someone has to speak and someone has to listen. So when if we're all speaking different things, it doesn't matter. However, if we're all speaking on our terms and at a certain turn, then things will get better. And that's the only way for people who are struggling with something, is to be able to be placed with someone who has a listening ear. Also, not only someone who can listen, but someone that has action steps. So behind that, if we don't necessarily have the correct answers, and it's a lot of times where, someone could ask me a question. If I don't know the answer, I don't know the answer. And nothing is wrong with that. But my opportunity to reach them is that if I don't have the answer, I'm going to work 10 times extra hard to get you to someone who does. And that's the most important thing. Listening and putting action steps with your listening.
That's so important, Jason, because
yeah.
Faith and I, we have a lot of volunteers that'll come through here.
Yeah.
When after they have to shadow, so we have volunteer opportunities for people, and we also have internships. And when we are training them and they're like, well, we tell them straight up, there's going to be times when you go to the hospital and you're not going to know the answer to what their question is, and that is okay. And you have us to call and help you find that answer. And if we don't know that answer, then we're going to go a step further and find that answer for you. And It's okay to not always know the answers, but that's why we work together to find those answers. That's very important for people to know that, because we never want anyone to ever feel alone. And that's our our survivors, that's our volunteers, that's our staff, that's our referrals, our other organizations like you guys. It's a work in progress, and we all work together. And it's okay to not be okay, and it's okay not to always know the answers.
That's right. I like that.
And even when we go in and we do the safe dates and healthy relationships curriculums, I always try to encourage the students to know the resources in their community. Just even for them, for their friends, it's really important that you have to know, because it's much easier to know and then move from there instead of like after it happening, then having to go find it. So that's definitely something to encourage too. But I'm going to let you guys plug whatever social medias you have for EAMH. I know Jason has shared his Facebook. If you guys want to share the one.
Yeah. So we have wheeled and dealed out some new social media platforms. Our YouTube channel is up and running. It is East Alabama Mental Health on YouTube. Also, our Facebook page is East Alabama Mental Health Center, and our Instagram is EAMHC _. That is EAMHC _. Also, we do have a few phone numbers as well where everyone can reach us during our daytime hours, and I do have a 24-hour line as well. I want to give that out. Daytime is 334-742-2112. That is the number here at Family and Children's Services. If you are inquiring about new services, or if you have an emergency, the 24-hour number. Let me see if I got it in my notes.
I have it right here.
You got it. Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah, it's 334-742-2877. That's the emergency number. That's the number I said earlier in the in the video. So.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, guys. And for anyone listening, I'm gonna be putting all of that information down below, typing it in the box so that you can access it that way as well. But
okay.
Do you guys have anything else you want to say before we sign off?
Check us out on Instagram and Facebook, and feel free to reach out anytime if you want to collaborate, or if you're a center yourself and you want to plug your programs you have going on. Reach out, and we're happy to collaborate.
That's right. And I got a shout out. I want to shout out my daughters, Ava Lee and Arden, as they're watching this. Hey, babies.
That's so cute. Oh, that's funny.
That's so sweet.
That is so sweet.
If I did that with my sisters, they would be like, don't do that. So we keep it really good today.
We're good today. All right.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. It was so great to have you, and definitely look forward to working with you guys in the future.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye. See you next week.
Thank you.